Hey guys, Ryan here from CellTeamSix. I'm just going to bring you guys a short video today, not long, probably about 6 minutes or so, on iOS versus Jelly Bean. I was reading a review today on IGN.com, and I've read a couple other different reviews from other sites. Just want to put my input on it because they make a lot of valid points, but there are some things that they forget to throw out there to the user. So I just like kind of hit on some of those points. Don't mind me if I look over here, it's just my notes are written up here on the screen. Can't remember everything. The first thing that they argue about is the games versus you know iOS platforming. I guess the market as far as how many games are available. Clear winner on this, obviously, I believe is Apple. I believe that games, personally, I believe that games run better on certain on the iPhone than they do on a lot of phones that I've had Android wise. So that in that aspect, I really do have to give it to Apple, or the developers, I should say, for the games that they make. Um, it's a lot simpler, I guess, because they don't have to make it for so many phones. A lot of issues people have is the game doesn't work on my phone, but it'll work on higher end user phones, things like that. So that's a big problem that bogs down Android. Is That's why they get a lot of complaints, because the game doesn't work on their device. Versus on Apple, it all runs on the same the same market, but it runs on their operating system. It's all based on the same thing. So gaming wise, I think Apple definitely takes a step up on that. To me, gaming isn't a big deal. I don't use my phone generally for gaming. Once in a while, if I'm bored or sitting around or something, I'll download just whatever's on the market. So that's not a huge thing for me. I'm not like a die-hard Angry Birds fan or die-hard Temple Run fan or anything like that. Even though both are available on both platforms and they run great on either one. Just not a big gaming fan, but clearly Apple does take the cake on that one. I have to agree. Next, I go into the App Store versus Google Play. Big controversy here. Apple right now, I believe, has 650,000 apps, from what they say, from what the research that I've done. 650,000 apps on the App Store versus Jelly Bean has, or not Jelly Bean, but Google Play in general has 600,000. My controversy with this is Android's only been out for 4 years. For 4 years, and you're only 50,000 apps away from beating out Apple. That says something right there. That's pretty impressive. Even though a lot of apps, IGN even says it as well. A lot of the apps are garbage or useless things that nobody uses. It doesn't take a huge brain to make an app. It's very simple. You can Google it and pretty much make one. They're not very hard. The complex apps that people take a lot of time for, those are worth getting. Those, you know what I mean? Those apps are great. So in the run, people are going to develop for both systems. Excuse me, but with my argument is at 600,000 apps after only 4 years. In 2007, I believe Android was it was official. They had announced the Android operating system. The first smartphone to actually have Android operating system didn't come until October of 2008. So you really are only looking at 4 years time, not even yet, because it's not even October. 4 years time, 600,000 plus apps. That's pretty impressive. I don't really think that either one takes the cake because a lot of apps are universal for both systems. You know what I mean? You have Android has a lot of apps based on root. And then Cydia has all their own tweaks and things like that, but it doesn't run into the App Store. So I guess it just kind of varies. One thing I know about the App Store, if you are going to develop apps, one thing I like Android over Apple versus Apple takes a commission of what you sell, and you have to spend money. Android, yes, you do have to make a market account. I believe it's $79 or $80, something like that. To be able to publish your apps, but it's a one-time fee and that's it for life. When you sell an app, they don't take a commission based on what you make. If you're selling an app for 99 cents and you sell 10,000 apps, well, there's your profit. You're looking at $9,000. That's just the way it is. They don't take any profit. So App Store wise, in developers, I prefer Android, and I think Android takes a cut on that one. That's just my personal preference. Next comes to Maps. This is a hands down winner, Android. Google Maps destroys Apple Maps. Apple Maps right now is having tons and tons of problems. I've pulled it up on my iPhone 4S. It's garbage. It doesn't work. Everything's blacked out. The 3D things, I like Android because it offers navigation. I had mentioned in another video, I use navigation a lot. Navigation is awesome on Android. I've not even found a GPS that I can buy on the market that beats it. And it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. It's great, and Android's had it for a long time. The Apple Map app, I guess you should say, has a lot of flaws, a lot of things black out, and a whole 9 yards. They go big on you can do 3D viewing and things like that. Yes, it's nice, but how often are you just sitting around and you're like, let me just decide to surf to Paris and just look around 3D? I really don't think, personally, that a lot of users use that. I don't think it's a big function. And once again, you can do a lot of viewing on major cities and stuff like that through Google Maps as well. A lot of things that irritate me is Apple fans think that iOS 6 offers a lot of new things. I'm sorry to say, but a lot of the functions that they have been out for years. Android's had it for a long time. You're just so stuck on Apple that you don't know about it. Again, that's not really a personal preference. That's just facts. I watched the press conferences for when iOS 6 came out, and everybody in this, everybody in the audience got so excited when the maps thing came up and the navigation. It's not new. It's been around. Apple just finally got on board with it. In maps, though, Android hands down takes the cake. Nothing to say on that. Next, they come into as far as like Google Plus Hangout versus the FaceTime. FaceTime works really well. I've never had an issue with it. I use it on my Mac sometimes with my parents and things like that. Never had an issue with it. It works great. Once again though, it's just now being introduced to run it over 3G network. Again, it's technology that's been around. So glad that they brought it on board. Thumbs up to Apple for that. Google Plus hasn't really taken off. I believe it will. I hope it's Facebook's demise, because I cannot stand Facebook, to be honest with you. I prefer Google Plus. I think it's fantastic, and I think they've added a lot of great features to it. So with the Hangouts, I still have my fingers crossed. I use Hangouts with my buddies. I use it for some meetings that I have at CellTeamSix and other members that don't currently live in the state of New Jersey, and I never have an issue with it. I don't have lag issues. So FaceTime and Google Plus, I think it's just, again, your preference on if you're using Apple or if you're using Android, which is based out of Google. So I don't really think there's a clear winner there. I think that's personal preference. I think they both work very well. So their interface is what they go into next as far as cloud integration, notifications, social integration, etc. Google released Google Drive, which is basically Google's cloud service. It comes on a lot of phones. A lot of people use it. Cloud service, I can't really say one thing or another. There's so many cloud services out there. You can use SkyDrive, Box, Dropbox, iCloud, Google Drive. There's so many that you can use. Apple uses iCloud. I use iCloud on my Mac. I think it works very well. I don't have any issues with it. It syncs up well with my iPhone. I did have some problems with it as far as syncing contacts. It was a really pain for me to do, to sync my contacts to iCloud. So I wasn't a big fan of that. Kind of drew me away. But it really depends. I don't think cloud integration is a winner over either one. Everybody uses their own different services for what they offer. Some companies offer 50 gigs for cheaper, etc., etc. So again, that's personal preference. I think cloud is definitely the future. A lot of things are going to start going to cloud. Another thing, though, I do believe iOS 6 or iOS in general does not have the apps to contain every cloud service that's out there. They have a lot of them. I think that they're easier to use personally on Android than they are on Apple. Again, just a personal preference. So I don't really think either one takes the cake as far as cloud. I think it's kind of a drawn out thing. Notifications and social integration. Notifications to me have always been better on Android. Android's always had the pull down navigation system. Generally, when you pull it up, there's apps you can download to get quick reply right out of the box. You don't have to jailbreak or root your phone to get a quick reply. On the iPhone, maybe it's different now, but you've always had to download some type of SMS byte or something like that, some add-on so that you can do a quick reply on the iPhone. That's really pointless. If I have my lock screen on, I shouldn't have to open my entire phone up to make a reply to a text message. So as far as texting goes and what you can do keyboard-wise, different types of services, all kinds of things like that, Android hands down takes the cake on SMS texting. There's no argument to me there. Android clearly is the winner. As far as social integration, again, yes, you can use Siri to post to Facebook, post to Twitter, the whole 9 yards. I can use my computer to do it. I can use a widget to do it on on Android. Widgets I prefer. When I use my iPhone, it irritates me that I don't have widgets. It's irritating. So integration wise, as far as it's built into the system, yes, Apple would win. Not being built into the system, obviously through Android, but basically, once you have a picture or anything like that, there's always some way of Android where you can just simply push a button and it will basically pop up and you can put it into whatever you want. Clearly, I'm just going to show you on my Galaxy S3. Basically, I'm going to pull up a picture, and on the picture, I'm going to show you all the kinds of things that you can do. For instance, here's a wallpaper that's on my phone. Just at the top, I can click this button here, and I can see all this. Anything that I have installed on my phone, sorry about that, I can share it to it. You can't do that with Apple. So as far as social integration or integration as far as sharing images, text messages, things like that, it just doesn't have the same thing, especially with the Galaxy S3 with their photo share that it comes with out of the box. NFC comes into another play. I can touch my phone to any other phone with NFC and just bump what I have on my phone. It's just like that. It's so quick. So as far as integration goes, I think Android takes the cake because you can do more with it. You can integrate it into more. It's not just set on Twitter and Facebook. There's other things I use besides Twitter and Facebook. Next comes up Siri versus Google Search, Google Now. To me personally, Google Now wins. Siri is very slow, gives me a lot of crap answers. Every time I use Siri, it always wants to search the web. It can never just give me an answer. So for me, Siri's just always been a pain in the ass. It has never worked like Google Now. When Google Now came out, Google Now just blew me away with what it could do. Yes, it has its problems as far as the cards and things like that, but overall, it's better search-wise. It's better at relaying the information, and it's very quick. Over a 4G network, Wi-Fi, 3G network, it's always quick. I've never had to really wait around for an answer. And it doesn't just take me online and look for an answer. If I wanted to do that, I would go to google.com and I would just search for what I want to search for. That defeats the purpose of having a voice integration service like that to me. So hands down, I think Google Now definitely takes the cake. Personally, I don't think that Siri is anywhere near close to what Google Now can do. Siri has a lot of potential, but still, with Google Now, you can launch apps like that. You could do that with S Voice. As a matter of fact, it's not a great service, but you can still do it. Again, at the iOS conference, this was a whole new experience for people. That, oh my God, Siri can now open apps. It's not huge. It's been around. It's not. Once again, it's not new technology. As far as customization, this is a no-brainer. Android clearly wins. To do any remote customization, you have to jailbreak your iPhone. There's no question about it. I can't just drop awesome themes or change icons or do anything of that nature on iOS 6. I don't care if it's iOS 1 or iOS 6. You just can't do it. I can do it straight out of the box with any Android device. I don't have to root my phone. Yes, you get more options when you root it, of course, but I don't have to do it to be able to do it. That's my point. So hands down, as far as customization, there's not even much to go into. I can change launchers. I can change keyboards. I can change the wallpapers. I can make live wallpapers, custom clocks, custom widgets, change all the notification icons at the top. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with Android versus iOS 6. It's a clear winner. Android wins that. IGN says the same thing on that. As far as bloatware, yes, bloatware is, like, as they put it, a garden of weeds. Bloatware sucks. It is annoying. Moto blur is one of the biggest things I hate about Motorola phones. The Galaxy S3, unfortunately, has a lot of bloatware that comes with it. I don't like it. Since I haven't ROMmed my phone, the bloatware is still there. I don't like it. It's garbage. There's so many useless apps on there. Once again, to me, that's a gimmick, and it's a money maker for Verizon or any other service that puts their stuff on there. To do VZ Navigator or Verizon Music or whatever it may be, it's just a waste of space on your SD card or your internal memory. It's just a waste of space. It's kind of like when you buy a new computer at Best Buy and you bring it home. There's a lot of useless junk on there that you're never going to use. As far as bloatware, I think iOS 6 has less bloatware than Android. So as far as out of the box bloatware, I think iOS definitely takes the cake on that, because Android does offer, not really offer, but have a ton of bloatware. Yes, you can force stop it and you can hide it, but it's still there. Regardless if it's hidden or not, it's still there. It's on your phone and it's taking up this space, and it doesn't give you the option to uninstall it. That's a big major flaw that Android has bloatware wise. So yes, iOS definitely has its bloatware, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have nearly as much. And most of the bloatware that comes on iOS, you actually generally use. Besides the newsstand, that's a really annoying bloatware, but a lot of the bloatware that I had found on my iPhone, I actually used. So it wasn't really a waste of space, versus the bloatware I get on Android, I never use. Most of it is just utterly garbage. The learning curve, people tell me that Android is so difficult to learn. I've had people tell me that it's difficult for them to put music on it. I really don't know how hard it is to do either through a cloud or plug my phone into my computer and literally open up a music folder. It's right there. It's not difficult at all. I find it more of a pain in the ass to go on iTunes and download things or put music on or add music. I think it's just not as user-friendly. Certain things on Android are more user-friendly than iOS. Yes, the standard person can come out, open an iOS, brand new, an iPhone right out of the box, and it's very simple to use. Apple's done very well with this as far as making people come into the 21st century smartphones and making it easy to use. So as far as learning curve, I believe it is harder to learn on the Android operating system, but you can do more with it versus the iOS. So I guess if the competition is that Apple has an easier learning curve, yes, I agree that Apple does have an easier learning curve. To me, I think it's made for more simple-minded people that just basically want to use a phone to surf the web, check out their Facebook, basic simple apps or gaming, text message, and phone calls. They don't want to take advantage of overclocking a processor. They don't want to take advantage of changing the kernel or anything of that nature. That's why Android, I guess, is a little bit more harder to learn, but you can do more with it in the long run. So Apple wins as far as the learning curve. Yes, it's an easier phone to use. Hardware and support. Hardware clearly wins with Android. All their latest smartphones have way better hardware. The A6 processor is literally 1.02 gigahertz processor. I'm sorry, Apple, but that's not that quick. You make it seem quick, but you have nothing running. Put a live background on that, and then let it see how it runs. You have a simple user interface. It's not anything complicated. It makes it quicker, don't get me wrong, but that's because you haven't added anything to make it run anything. You have 1 gig of RAM. Generally, most smartphones do have 1 gig of RAM, so kudos to Apple for finally getting that. Unfortunately, the Galaxy S3 has 2 gigs of RAM. So again, Android phones have one up. The camera on the iPhone works amazing. Like I said, the camera on Android, most Android smartphones I've ever had worked amazing. Panorama view is something I want to hit on. Panorama view is not new. Once again, Apple fans, it is not new. I have had it for a while. I had it on my Galaxy Nexus, as a matter of fact. I believe it was the first phone that I had ever had it on, and it worked wonderful. So again, it's not something new. It's available on both operating systems. A lot of things you can debate. This is better, that's better. Hardware-wise, I don't think it's an argument or a question. Android phones have better hardware, hands down. That's just the way it is. You can't argue with me that a dual-core S4 1.5 gigahertz processor doesn't compare to an A6 1.02 gigahertz processor. Just the spec alone, it's better. It's going to perform better. The same thing with having more memory. It's going to perform better. There's no argument or question about it. We already went over the camera. Let me see. One thing that they do hit is the waiting game. Yes, a lot of phones were unfortunate that we don't get Jelly Bean all at the same time. We don't get Ice Cream Sandwich at the same time. Older phones aren't going to get this. Well, let me clue you in. Older things by Apple products aren't going to get iOS 6. So in the same regard, it's the same thing. As far as waiting, though, yes, it is a nuisance, but at the same time, iPhone, you have one product. Of course, everything's going to come out for that. You have the iPhone. It's going to come out. It's the same, the same structured phone. Different companies, a lot of companies make Android phones. A lot of retailers sell Android phones for the average person. Cricket, Metro PCS, Virgin Mobile, whatever it may be. A lot of those low-end companies use that. There's tons and tons and tons of phones. I forget how many activations a day. I know it's a lot of Android phones are being activated up there. It sucks that you have to wait Android-wise, and yes, Apple does win as far as the waiting game, because when they put out a release, it's released for all the phones. It's instantly updatable for every phone. You don't have to wait 72 hours and it's going to come out in batches and things like that. You don't have to wait for that. So yes, Apple does clearly win when it comes to the waiting game. It doesn't make the operating system better. It doesn't make Android any less. It just makes that Apple, in a structure, makes a better decision when they put out their product, because when they put it out, it all comes out as one. It's not back and forth. They bring in the Windows Phone. You can't really get into the Windows Phone. I am excited for Windows 8 phones, especially the Lumia 920. That phone looks very promising. So not going to get too much on that. They don't really declare a winner, and I really wouldn't declare a winner either. Once again, I think it's a personal preference. I'm not an Apple fanboy. I'm not an Android fanboy. Both systems, I've stated before, have their flaws. Both have their perks. It's personal preference on what you choose to use. At CellTeamSix, we're not going to discriminate you because you use an iPhone. I have them. I'm getting an iPhone 5 next week. Am I going to use it as my main phone? No. But that doesn't mean that I discriminate against Apple. I use Apple computers for school all the time. I think they're great computers. It's just personal preference. A lot of things, some people, it really irks you because they don't want to listen to what Android has, just for the simple fact that they're buying Apple and that's all they want to do, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do, you want to buy that name, then that's fine. Android, I don't find it so much as buying a name. I find it that I'm buying a good quality product with a lot of customization. I can get into so many things that I don't like. It's the same thing with Facebook or MySpace. MySpace I could actually customize. Facebook I can't. I have a timeline. Whoop-de-doo. It's just the same thing. It's your personal preference on what you like to use. So there's no clear winner here. It's just, once again, your personal preference. I love the Android operating system. I like iOS on what it can do. It's coming up there and it's catching up, but it's still leaps and bounds behind as far as technology. One thing I did want to hit on though, and I saw this in a review, and it'll be in my review as well for the iPhone 5 or the iPhone 5, yes, and the Google or Galaxy S3. They did a comparison test on a 4G network of pulling up internet web pages. I'm going to make this clear. The reason, first off, that the iPhone will pull it up a little bit quicker, not much, but a little bit quicker, is to the point that you're not loading any flash images. iOS doesn't have flash, so you've lost in that content. I guarantee if I took flash off my phone, it would load just as quick. 4G is 4G. Speed tests come better on some phones than others, yes, but if you're really that nitpicky that you are going to think that your phone is way better, Android or iPhone, you think that your phone's going to be way better because your phone can open an internet page 1 second faster than another phone, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't need to be so pressed on time that you need your phone to open in literally the blink of an eye. So again, it's all personal preference. It's what you say. This is some things that I wanted to point out in a review from CellTeamSix based on iOS 6 and Jelly Bean. I'll get more into iOS 6. Like I said, the other videos are probably substantially decently long. I didn't expect this video to run for 23-24 minutes, but when you get talking, you get talking. We appreciate all the views, everything so far. Like I mentioned before, if you guys haven't checked out Android Den, our partner, we also run our forums based on Android Den. Please go over there and check them out. Like I said, a great group of guys. Everybody over there is friendly. We're always trying to look for improvements on the site and make it better. I know I say a lot. I've noticed that in my videos. I'm going to try to stop. So again, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you later.